Yo guys, what is up? Max in our first Descendant video, and today we're going over the most recent patch, hotfix 1.2.7. There's quite a bit of changes to Void Erosion here, as well as some new skins, some weapon balance changes, and more. When we break down everything you guys need to know, hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. So the big adjustment they've done in this hotfix is they've made pretty large adjustments to Void Erosion, particularly the higher tiers of Void Erosion, like 26 through 30. So public operations are now available for 26 and 27, so you can matchmake for those if you were struggling in them before. They changed the number of ranged skills of Elite Wardens from 8 to 3. They removed chill on normal and elite trackers. They changed the beam skills of a lot of these elites and mobs so that they're not going to be heat seeking as hard on you, and you'll actually be able to avoid them. They removed a bunch of guiding abilities. They doubled all of the drop rates of ammo in Void Erosion. They changed the rewards so that if you beat it, you get the same amount of rewards whether you clear it in the speedy time or in a really long time. They changed monster combinations and spawn patterns from 21 to 30. They reduced the amount of suicide bombers, and they changed the commander that appears in stage 29. And then they also changed a bunch of the group spawn chances, reduced a bunch of mobs that are here, and then they reduced the difficulty of solo mode just in general across the whole board. They increased attribute attack of weapons, so our weapons are going to be stronger and the mobs are going to be weaker. And then they also nerfed command monsters for 2 to 4 players in Void Erosion Purge. We're going to finish the rest of the patch notes, and then we'll go through kind of my opinions on all of this stuff. Then we get Descendant changes. In as mainly UI changes. Now you'll actually be able to see the amount of bounces of your chain lightning based off of if you are adding range or not, so that will be properly updating. They increased the number of targets according to skill range on Keelan, which now changes when the skill range module is equipped, so more UI changes. It's just things will actually display properly. They fixed some of the brightness of the Albion Cavalry's ricochet effect, and then we get some weapon changes. So the first is to the Last Dagger, which they increased its firearm attack by 29%, and now hitting an enemy grants the unique ability Patience and Lethal Dagger. Lethal Dagger increases critical hit rate per stack. Reloading when Patience is at max stacks resets Patience and grant the new Strike effect. While Strike is active, you shoot enhanced rounds, and when Strike is removed, the Steps effect is granted that increases your movement speed. They said this was to increase its single target damage. I haven't tried it out yet, but should be feeling better. Next is to the Restored Relic, which is already I think a pretty meta pick, honestly, for Void Erosion, and this is getting buffed even more. When a guided round explodes, it creates multiple cluster rounds depending on its enhancement level, and cluster rounds track to nearby enemies. Restored Relic should have even more firepower. And then Sigvor's Proof, damage dealt by sticky bombs increases proportionally to the number of sticky bombs installed. So now this could be potentially a single target rocket launcher where you fire the rounds a whole bunch on a boss, and then if you have a ton of rounds active, let's say you're using Glay where you can stick more than you should, then you could explode those, and hopefully that is doing a bunch of damage. Once again, as we're recording this video, I haven't gone and tested any of these changes yet. I'll probably have more videos out on that later. They also increased the firearm attack of pretty much most of the purple weapons. Obviously, they didn't change the Eternal Willpower or the Tamer, but they buffed up a bunch of the base purple weapons. Some things to note here, which were already pretty good, just Assassin's Edge got buffed, Blue Blood Boomer got buffed, the Guardian R4 got buffed, Vestigial Organ got buffed, just to name a few. Could potentially be interesting. Obviously, unless we could put cores on these things, they'll never actually keep up with meta guns, but I imagine this will feel better for people leveling throughout the campaign. They also added a bunch of new skins, emotes, paints, and bundles, which I will show you right now. So if we go to the shop, these are the new event skins. Where are they? So there's the super party pack bikini bundle for 4,900 caliber, which has 18 gajillion skins in it. Definitely an expensive purchase. And then there's the smaller bundle, which is 4 characters. This one's Viessa Glay, Valby, and Haley. And then this one's Bunny, Freyna, Sharon, Luna. And then you can also get all of the individual packs yourself. And then there's also the like male pack as well. And then they also added like a bunch of skins and emotes. Next, they added a bunch of new events. There's a new like login event that gives you like 1,000 Void Abyss fragments, a whole core binder, and some of these like crates for stabilizers, energy activators, a bunch of good stuff there. And then there's also this new like daily and weekly stuff for, you know, full crates of full weapons, dimension analyzers, and more. So a bunch of new events going on. Next, we get to bug fixes, where there's kind of just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. I don't think there's anything too important here to call out, honestly. They did fix the unnatural wrinkles on the buttocks of Hannah's default skin. Just important patch notes in this game. And then we get to the director's comment, which is where things get a little bit more serious, and something I wanted to talk about. The director's comment goes, "Greeting Descendants. This is the director. As mentioned on Discord and the dev livestream, this hotfix focuses on improving the gameplay experience of Void Erosion Purge while addressing elements that may have caused discomfort. However, the issue of certain weapon metas being overly required at higher difficulty levels has not yet been fully resolved. The reason we couldn't address this issue immediately is due to the performance gap between Descendants. If we balance the difficulty based on top-tier Descendants, most other Descendants will struggle to play effectively. Conversely, if we adjust the difficulty to accommodate lower performing Descendants, the leaderboards risk being dominated by only a selected few, diminishing the content's value as a challenge. To fundamentally resolve this issue, we plan to first adjust the balance between Descendants and then refine the gameplay experience of Void Erosion Purge. However, with the ongoing preparations for Season 2, Episode 2, and live service management, we regret that we cannot implement these improvements as quickly as possible. We sincerely apologize for this delay. We'll share further details as soon as we finalize our improvement plans and schedule. We deeply apologize to all players who have been disappointed with Void Erosion Purge content. To deliver better content, we'll actively seek ways to engage with the community and gather feedback before updates, ensuring a more stable live service experience. Thank you, as always, for your valuable feedback." So there's a lot to break down with this, but I think kind of an overarching theme is that balance is starting to get really out of control in this game. That's something that they are admitting and something that they want to work on. The devs have taken a no nerf policy on basically everything since the launch of the game, which obviously, you know, they can do, and it's great to not have things nerfed. But at the same time, for like the health of the game and the longevity of it, sometimes nerfs are needed. We kind of saw that with Freyna and how powerful Freyna was, and now Inez is like basically power crept Freyna, and now they're trying to create content that's difficult. We've finally gotten difficult content, but it's so difficult that only like super meta things can complete it. And I honestly was fine with that. I actually really liked the difficulty of Void Erosion and like the grind and the amount of like, you know, teamwork that you'd have to do to clear the higher levels if you were doing co-op, and the min-max that you do. I think it was content that this game severely needed. I haven't played the new changes yet, but I am kind of sad to see it get nerfed. But I think this is kind of just a flaw that's been happening in this game, is that the devs refuse to nerf things, and so balance is starting to get really out of whack. For example, we've now got these core binders and cores that we can basically 3 times the damage of our weapon, but the only content that is balance adjusted for us having basically 3 times the amount of gun damage is these Void Erosions. So now the rest of the game isn't balanced around us having these crazy weapons, and everything that was easy before is even easier now. And I think something that would be really neat with these like Void Erosion purges is I think it's okay for them to be super dominated by specific setups and specific builds. That's just what happens when you introduce difficulty, is you weed out all of the things that are weaker. This is very common in games like, you know, Diablo, that have like leaderboards and grinds to clear the highest tiers of content. only the top builds can do that, but they change up the variety by constantly doing balance changes between every like big patch or season. So for example, if this season is dominated by a certain setup or something, then they could nerf that and buff something else, and that's how you add variety and keep the game interesting, is by balance and adjustments, which this game just really, besides bringing up other things, hasn't really done. And I will say that they have done a good job of bringing certain weapons up to par. Things like the Smithereens are starting to stand out. The Albion Cavalry and the Perforator are doing really well. Those are guns that you would never use until they did these buffs. So like their ideology behind what they're doing, I think, is working, but I do think that they need to do some of these nerfs besides just constantly power creeping their game over and over. And I think it honestly would have been really cool if we had tiers of Void Erosion Purge that just straight up weren't clearable. Like, if no one could do Void Erosion 30, I think that'd be sick. Like, if there was aspirational content that no one can do, because in a month we're about to get these massive skill trees that are going to increase the powers of all of our characters, and then like maybe we get those power increases and then we can clear that higher tier content. There needs to be a ceiling, something to strive for in this game, and every time that we get something that is kind of that aspirational content, it keeps getting nerfed and changed. And so I really do think that they need to take a overall look at balance. It sounds like they're going to be doing some of their first real big balance changes, but I do think that they need to bring in some nerfs to keep things balanced and to keep things fresh, because if the things that are powerful are always powerful for the longest amount of time, then you just get staleness, and then the game gets dull and it gets boring. Balance is the spice of life in these kind of looter shooters, and so hopefully those are some really big changes that we can get in these coming updates. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously, I'm just one person and these are my opinions, but I think that this is an interesting topic to talk about with balance. And I think it's an important one. So yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.